In this video, we're going to show you to install an engine mount on the Toyota Camry located on the back side of the engine. On the front passenger side of the engine, we want to go ahead and remove this torque strut here. We're going to use our 14mm socket to go ahead and loosen these. Now, on removing this here, the engine may shift just a little bit, but that's okay. Go ahead and remove this here, set it aside. On our front mount here, just to the left of our exhaust manifold, our catalytic converter, we want to go ahead and loosen and remove the 17mm bolt. This is in the center of the front mount. Get to remove that. Go ahead and use a pry tool to go ahead and pop off your center cap. Using your 21mm socket, loosen and remove the lug nuts. Go ahead and grab your wheel and remove that, set it aside. On the rear motor mount, we have a 17mm nut right on the top. So we're going to use our swivel head ratchet, our shallow socket, and we're going to reach up beside the exhaust pipe from underneath. Going to go up and over, and basically try and get this set up on there. And we're going to use our pole jack with a block of wood. We're going to use that on the back side of the engine. We're going to raise this up. It's going to allow us to go ahead and work that engine mount out. And we're going to use our 14mm socket to go ahead and loosen and remove the 3 nuts. There's one here, and there's 2 inside the cradle itself. We're going to go ahead and raise up our engine. And what we want to try and do is get this raised enough where that stud is out. And we try and work this out. Now, while installing our new component here, the pin itself is going to go towards the back. If you look up into the mount, you can see the hole. So we're just going to feed this in the same way that we removed the old one. Feed that up. Drop the mount studs down and inside. Now, at this point here, because we lift up the motor, it kind of tilted back. We're going to tilt the motor mount, get that stud into the bracket, and now we can go ahead and start to lower the motor into position. Now, lowering this down, you want to make sure that the pin on the mount itself goes up into the bracket on the motor. We can go ahead and lower our pole jack. Let's go ahead and install the nut on the top. I'm going to thread this down as far as I can by hand. I'm going to go ahead and snug this down. Once you have that snug, if you have the ability to do so, you want to get and torque this down to 47 foot-pounds. Now that we have this torqued, let's go ahead and install the 3 nuts on the bottom. Go ahead and get these nuts started here. Once you have those started, go ahead and zip them down. Go ahead and torque these down to 59 foot-pounds. Now up underneath the hood here, you want to go ahead and install the bolt for the upper portion of the mount. Now if you go to put in this bolt here and give it a few turns and it doesn't catch in the top of the mount, the next thing that you want to do is put your jack underneath the oil pan with the block of wood, and we're going to gently raise up the engine just a little bit to get this mount to line up with this hole, and then we'll go ahead and install the bolt. Now the engine raised just a tiny bit, you can go ahead and move this mount just a little bit, line up that bolt, and get that started a few threads. Once you get that bolt started, go ahead and grab your ratchet. I'm going to thread that in just a little bit more. And once you get this bolt down several threads, you can now go ahead and lower the jack. Let that engine drop down. We're going to switch over to our impact driver and snug that down. Torque down the bolt to 47 foot-pounds. Now you want to go ahead and take your torque strut and you want to go ahead and position it appropriately. Number one, the smaller portion of the torque strut is going to attach to the strut tower. The larger portion goes onto the motor. Now you can see that the rod here is welded offset. You want to make sure that it is over to the passenger side or this side here of the unit. If you put it on this way here, it'll still install, but you're going to twist the mount and prematurely cause this to tear and have installation and mounting problems. So make sure it is mounted this way. Slide this in. Make sure you start these bolts by hand first. Grab that motor if you have to and just give it a little wiggle and get that bolt started. If you can't shift that motor, it's okay to go ahead and grab a pry bar just to shift it just a little bit. Okay, we'll get those started. Let's go ahead and zip those down. Torque these down to 47 foot-pounds. Go ahead and grab your wheel, get that lined up, pop that on. Let's go ahead and install our lug nuts. I'll go ahead and get all these started by hand first. Once these are all on, we'll go ahead and snug them down. Then we want to go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 76 foot-pounds. I'm going to do this in a star pattern. Once you have the lug nuts torqued, go ahead and line up your cap here. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.